Ladies were smarter than us.
That might be the case, huh?
We think we got them, but they actually got us. Not much. We got 17, we'll get it. Here, okay. Got 40. Okay. We do it every time now. Is that this time? Because today threw me off. I have a reminder set up. Last I had it set on last week and now. Warm in here. All right, maybe we'll get to see what's going on. Four. I think Francisco's gonna be here. Yeah, it's been exciting. That's like a day for Leonard. I'm sure they get my iPads for it. That's right, 'cause it's not, it's just like some, we had Alex figured out.
Me and my dad always go together, and like, so my excuse is like, I stay with the 74 but my real issue, like, I need a train. So,
We started a few weeks back. This is, it was good for us because we're starting.
so I was like, I'm gonna really get back into it.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
nope.
All right, good evening. And how are you doing tonight? All right. Welcome to the City of Douglasville Planning Commission meeting. I am Francisco Artley, the chairman for the Planning Commission. The other members of the Planning Commission are Keith Burnett, the vice chair, Nathan Zachary, Ralph Benton, and Mark Van. The staff members are Shayla Reed, Community Development Director, Miranda Jordan, Staff Attorney, Marissa Jackson, Planning and Zoning Administrator, Chelsea Tubbs, Planner 1, and Joya Mitchell, Intern. There are a few protocol items I need to make you aware of before we start the meeting. Please listen closely on how tonight's meeting will be conducted. Keep your comments and presentation on a professional level, dealing with the facts that are important for the commission to make its decision. We will not accept comments that are considered by the chair to be a personal attack on any individual or group of individuals. You'll receive a warning from the chair if you deviate from this requirement. A second deviation will result in a request for you to leave the meeting and the premises for the evening. Refrain from any applause or comments from the audience. Only one person will be talking at a time, and all comments will be made at the podium after the speaker has been recognized by the chair. Please direct all comments to the chair and the commission, not to the audience or the staff. Please do not applaud or react to speakers, speak from the audience, cheer, carry on a conversation with others in the audience, or disrupt the order of this meeting in any way. Be aware that these hearings are not a debate or an opportunity to ask questions which must be answered by an individual tonight, but are merely an opportunity to present information to the commission. Other than the applicant, no person may speak more than once. The applicant may reserve part of their speaking time as rebuttal and may speak next and last and may use the entire 20 minutes allotted for the pro side of this application. Other than the applicant, no person may speak longer than 5 minutes. If you have a cell phone or any other electronic device, I ask that you either power them off or put them on silent mode. If anyone wishes to speak tonight, please fill out a form available on the table up front and hand it to the staff before approaching the podium. After each case is called, we will hear next from the Planning and Zoning Administrator, and then we will hear from the applicant or their representative about what their plans are for the property, along with any other relevant information they wish to present. The commission members will be free to ask questions at any time before the vote on a project. Following the applicant, anyone who wishes to speak for or against the project or just ask questions will have an opportunity to do so. The city ordinance restricts each side to a maximum of 20 minutes, or time may be waived at the discretion of the presiding official. If questions are raised, we may ask the applicant to speak again. Afterward, we will call for a motion and a second, have any necessary discussion, and if the matter is not tabled, we will vote recommend approval or denial of the application. This commission is only a recommending body. The items will be heard by the mayor and council whether we recommend approval or recommend denial. Unless tabled, these items will be heard by the city's mayor and council at their legislative meeting on August 3rd and then voted upon at their meeting on the following Monday, August 7th. The first item on our agenda is to approve the minutes from June 6th. Is there any discussion on them? Do I have a recommendation?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the motion passes and the minutes are approved. The first case is item 23-081. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for change in zoning from PUD, Plan Unit Development District, to PUD, Plan Unit Development District for plus or minus 21.15 acres located on Slater Mill in Land Lot 80, District 1, Section 5, Parcel 008-001-50047. Application by Planners and Engineers Collaborative, Ken Wood. Staff will now present the item.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Marissa Jackson, Planning and Zoning Administrator, 6701 Church Street. So the first case for us is a request for rezoning. It's currently zoned PUD, Planned Unit Development, but it has a commercial-based zoning. And so the applicant is requesting to amend the development standards to allow this to be single-family residential instead of commercial. The applicant is proposing 95 single-family homes at the intersection of Slater Mill and Shawnee Trail. In the PUD zoning district, the applicant works with city staff to develop development standards. The development standards are open so that we can adopt the development standards as a condition of zoning. And the goal here is to have development standards that are specific to the site and the proposed development. So we are requesting that the development standards on this site be adopted as a condition of zoning. This is kind of a map to show us where the development is located. The map on my left, your right, is an aerial map that shows the parcel and where it's located. And then there are some images of the roadway to illustrate what it looks like. The site is currently undeveloped. So the current zoning is PUD, as I mentioned. The future land use is low-density residential, and it recommends 2 units per acre. And here is a copy of the proposed site plan. The main entrance would be on Slater Mill, and then there would be an emergency-only entrance on Shawnee Trail. And staff is recommending approval with the conditions in the staff report. Some of them are recommended by staff and others are recommended by the applicant. There was one concern proposed by the Douglas County School Board about if the school would have capacity for the additional students, and that's something that would have to be worked out, but those are our recommendations, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Does anybody have any questions?
Staff.
Okay.
What school district is this in? What high school?
Let me double check for you.
The high school? It's either New Manchester or Douglas County, because I know we've been put in New Manchester, but I know it's Mount Carmel's the elementary school, and Chestnut Log is the middle school.
Yeah, I'll have to double check with the school board.
So it's basically the elementary you were saying that would be,
Yes,
Okay.
he expressed a concern about the elementary school.
okay,
Definitely not the high school.
yeah, it would be Mount Carmel. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Will the applicant come forward and state their name and address for the record? Tell us what you intend to do on this property.
Hi, I'm Haley Todd. I'm with PEC Plus. I'm in place of,
Just one second. Is the mic on, or can it be turned up?
can
or-
you hear me?
Okay.
Yeah, it just
Okay.
needs to be closer to my face. Okay. Oh, can you help me get it to? Oh, okay, cool. I'm Haley Todd. I'm from PEC Plus. I'm in place of Ken Wood. You've seen him before several times on this project. He is on vacation right now in Florida. His son is turning 16 today, so we could not quite pull him from that. His wife would, hurt him. So anyway, I'm here instead. So he apologizes for not being able to be here. He would have flown down, but anyway. So I know you all have heard this project a couple of times now. So I know you're pretty familiar with it. This is the aerial. You can see, those different uses. There's a lot going on around this area. I know you're familiar with it, right there on Slater Mill. This is the current zoning for the city, and I know Marissa just went over that as well. You can see that we're zoned PUD. The sites south of us are zoned PUD. To the north of us, this is the county map because we are adjacent to a lot of county parcels as well. There's some commercial zoning just above us, just north of us, on the intersection of 20 and 92. So this is kind of a look at the future land use, and again, Marissa showed you this. And we wanted to hit on this because, you know, the future land use is low-density residential. This site has been zoned PUD, or DCD was the former designation, with the GC, general commercial, underlying zoning. So that was changed to PUD in 2000, well, the city changed those designations from DCD to PUD, but the site was rezoned in 2002. The future land use for this area was changed in 2018, and as you can see, this site was kind of left in the fold, sort of. The future land use remained low-density residential, even though we're seeing that that's not really how this area has developed. It's more been sort of a medium density, while other sites around it have kind of come up commercial. This exhibit shows that the two sites just to the north of us are commercially zoned. Those are in the county. There are townhomes coming up to the east of us that have a relative density of approximately 7.2 units per acre. To the south of us, we have the Haven and Slater Mill HOAs, which we've worked with pretty extensively on this project. And they also have similar densities in the ballpark of where we are at 5.1 units per acre and 3.5 units per acre. We're coming in right at 4.4 units per acre, so similar densities there. There are so many slides of plans here, so I'm going to click through them, and if you'd like me to go back to one, I will happily do that. So this is the original plan where the parcel beneath it was included. These are another sampling of our plans. As you can see, we've kind of whittled down the number of units as we've had these conversations with the community. This has been a long time coming. We've been in the works with this for over a year now. I was looking at a slide earlier today that I had made a long time ago, and it was estimating that I would be here at the end of 2022. Obviously, it's the middle of 2023, so it's been quite a while. This is our current site plan. I'll show it to you in color. This is our current site plan. You can see that we have the intersection of Mossy View and Slater Mill, and that's the only proposed entrance for everybody to use. We have come at this means of ingress and egress with the emergency access onto Shawnee Trail as emergency only, not to be used by everybody at any time. This has been the product of many, many, many conversations with the traffic engineers, with GDOT. You know, we've kind of gone through pretty much everything we could do to troubleshoot this, and this is where we arrived at, was that emergency egress onto Shawnee Trail, and then the lineup with Mossy View Drive. And we've, discussed this with the neighbors. This would be a gated point of entry, which I know was one of the last lingering points of contention at the previous meeting. So this would be gated, and that's a condition that we've agreed to. And I can show you this is what that new entrance would look like with a gate. I have a couple of elevations. I know you've seen these, so I'll skip to the conditions. So as the staff mentioned, there are so many conditions here. We have really hammered these out with the community over probably, I think, 11 meetings with 3 different HOAs. There have been a lot of conversation here. All the conditions listed here are the same as the ones listed in the staff report, with the last 18 through 23 have been added since the previous meeting. The only condition that was changed was number 16. That was added, or changed rather, so that it read, "There shall be a 25-foot buffer and an 8-foot opaque fence to screen between the proposed development and the general commercial uses, that's the only one that we would need to alter. We would be able to provide the 8-foot opaque fence, but the 25-foot buffer would encroach into, I can show you the top line of houses up there. And so when the commercial tract, if the commercial tract is eventually developed, they would be required to provide a buffer. But we would lose, with already a really small HOA, we would lose those lots. You know, it would really encroach upon those. So we want to maintain that lot count, and we'll provide the fence and the setbacks, of course.
I can't remember, did you guys buy the top part too? Do you own the whole
No.
track, or you just own the part that you want to build?
Just the part that you see here.
Okay.
That pretty much concludes my spiel. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those.
No, I was talking up here at the top part, where they have the commercial office, they show on their map, it says commercial office on the top part. So that pretty much is what's left that really couldn't be built up there, is
Yeah.
commercial, like office buildings or whatever. All right. I do like the fact that it went from 133 to 95. I like that. Is there any questions?
I just had one question. You talk about the 25-foot buffer, the fence in that area. You said you couldn't meet that and still maintain the lots or have those lots that you could build on. So what footage would you be able to put that fence up, what that distance would be, and still maintain your lots?
Yeah, the fence would be along the property line, and it would be the 8-foot opaque fence per the conditions that the staff recommended. The lots would go to that property line, I believe, as this plan is drawn. They would have the rear setback, though. Off the top of my head, I believe the rear setback is 20 feet. It might be 30 feet. We can fact check this. 15 feet? So it would be, the building envelope would end 15 feet from the property line, but that area could be planted.
So no second entrance was added?
No second entrance was added, just the emergency access onto Shawnee. And I don't think that was added as of since the last meeting. I think that's been there.
Yeah, that was in the original plan, but where they have that, where your emergency entrance is where you planned on having that other entrance, and that really wasn't a good place because of that curve.
Yeah.
So it's good that it's just an emergency.
And one of the conditions to align this entrance is basically we have to meet the site distance on that curve on Slater Mill to be able to line up there. So as long as that lines up at land disturbance and that, you know, they crunch the numbers on that, then that would be approved per the conditions. And so that's kind of built in there.
When was the last meeting with the neighborhoods?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I think we had a call as recently as last month in June. I don't know off the top of my head, but it's been, there have been
Multiple.
almost a dozen over the last year.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Are there any other questions from the board?
Just one other one.
Yes.
Excuse me, pertaining to the gated entrance, as the vehicles turn in, how many vehicles will be able to get off of the main road into that, you know, for that gate access?
That's a good question. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. It would be whatever the stacking distance is per code. So I believe it's, do you know? And my engineer is saying 100 feet, but it could be less than that. I'm not sure. It's whatever the stacking distance is per code. We can find out for you. And there's a little bit of flexibility with that entrance if it needed to be moved up. There's kind of a long throat on that curve.
All right. Thank you.
Cool.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the project, ask questions, or make other comments? Please come forward, tell us your name and address.
have handouts?
Sure.
This is in favor of.
Yes.
Okay, here. Two more. Is there two more there, or is there one? Here. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anna Diamond, and I live at 2231 Shawnee Trail. And I'm president of Shawnee Lake Estates, which is in the city. Our board is tasked with managing and maintaining Shawnee Lake on behalf of its members. I stand in favor of rezoning to residential because PEC has agreed to include the following measures to protect Shawnee Lake from loss of capacity. The same measures are currently in place for the residential development on the opposite side of the lake. The measures to be included is that the builder will maintain its retention ponds until it is handed over to the HOA. The builder will also do a silt study to determine if any silt has been deposited in Shawnee Lake during their construction and submit their silt study information to planning and zoning before and upon completion of their project. The silt study area includes the areas of Pipe 1, Pipe 2, and Pipe 3 on Shawnee Trail out to the middle of the lake in the silt study area. That is attributed to the builder's work on this project. The builder will ensure that it's cleaned up and all the expenses will be paid by the builder. No expense to Shawnee Lake residents. Shawnee Lake reserves the right to relieve the builder of this requirement if the builder safeguards hold and less than an inch of sediment is found in the lake upon receipt of the final silt study numbers and based on typical measurements and visual inspection and testing. I want to thank Kenneth Wood for his assistance in customizing this for the builder of this project and for his agreement on behalf of the builder. I also want to thank the city commissioners for implementing these safeguards as planning and zoning requirements for this project and protecting Shawnee Lake from suffering the loss of capacity due to silt and sediment runoff. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anna. Thank you for this, too, and the pictures. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward and speak in favor of this project? Is there anyone who would like to speak other than in favor of this project? Please come forward, tell us your name and address.
My name is Cheryl Smith, and I'm at 2004 Haven Circle. And I'm not really speaking against it. I just have a couple of questions. I came in a little bit late to the presentation, and I want to get some things clarified, if I may. I think I understood you to say that there would be 65 units? 95 units.
95
Okay.
units, yes, ma'am.
And that it will be a gated community? Okay. And do you have an idea of, I know you showed some pictures of some of the homes that would be built. Do you have an idea of the square footage, the average square footage of those homes? Okay, okay.
I can
2,000.
answer that. Based on the development standards that they're proposing, the minimum square footage is 1,800 square feet.
1,800?
1,800 square feet.
Okay.
On their proposed developments, they have 2,000 square feet.
Would that be consistent for every house, or is that just is there a range?
Yes.
It's the same for every house.
Okay. And the space between the houses would be, is that the 25 feet that you were referring to?
From side to side, it'd be 20 feet.
Pardon?
20 feet,
Between the houses?
right, yes, between the houses.
Okay. And the way that, I think Haven Circle is a little bit down, just the street right above where Slater Mill Road is written, is the Haven development. And your driveway or your street into the development would be across from the
Haven.
subdivision across. Do you have an idea of what that traffic flow might be?
So you can see that it would line up with it lines up with Mossy Creek, right there. That's the one, but Haven is just directly below.
Okay, and that's the development, that the street. Is there plans to be a traffic light there, or do you
No.
anticipate the traffic would be sufficient or enough to warrant a traffic light?
I think that would be something that have to be determined by the city afterwards, if a light or
Okay.
another stop sign would be needed.
We are charged with ensuring, did you see the curve on Slater Mill? I don't know if this has yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, okay, the curve on Slater Mill right here.
Okay.
So our entrance is right here, lining up with that, so we would have to make sure that we have to have an engineer at Land Disturbance tell us that it's safe
Okay.
for vehicles coming around this curve.
Well, there's a stop sign coming out of the existing subdivision, so I assume there'd be a stop sign coming
Yeah.
out of
Oh, yeah,
yours,
yeah, yeah,
at
yeah.
least, okay.
Yeah, but it
Okay.
would be a divided, we have a picture of the entrance. It would be like a divided entrance, where you would come in off of Slater Mill.
And it's gonna have all that greenage on the sides? I mean, okay. It didn't look like there was enough space for that. Go back to the plot, the plat of it, yeah. Okay, I see the greenish now. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I would too.
Good evening. My name is Ann Robinson, and I live 402 Haven Circle, Douglasville, Georgia. I think a couple of months ago, I had a concern with the property that leads right from Shawnee Trail up to the entrance, because there is a curve there, and there is a wooded area there, which is not clear, so I don't know whether you plan to use some of that property, because in talking to Ken, you do not own that greenery there.
Are you talking about this right here?
Yeah, that right there, because right there is the entrance to Haven Circle.
Right here, you mean, yeah?
Yes, so when we come out leading up to your entrance, we cannot see cars coming out there.
Right, so that's what I was saying, we have to, at Land Disturbance, it's in the conditions, we have to make sure that this is safe for entrance and exit
But
coming around
how are
this
you going to
curve.
do that?
An engineer determines it with like a,
I don't see how that would change entrance or change the view as it currently is now, because there's nothing there right now. It's the same view. It's just that when you come out of the Haven now, you'll see the entrance to the other
No,
subdivision.
No.
so this is not included at all whatsoever. This will be left alone. That's not even, that tract is not.
okay, so when we come out of the Haven and lead up to the entrance of your property,
When you come out of Haven,
going to turn left, going up, that's a curve and a wooded area. Right now, it's a blind spot.
okay. So
Ah, okay.
the only part that we are responsible for is this. This is the property line right here, you see?
Okay, so it's not clear that
I think,
it's
yeah,
going to
okay.
be clear for us to see traffic coming out of your property.
Well, they would have to, they would have to make it so that you would have the appropriate site distance. And that's when they're permitting it, they would have to, like, the entrance can't be built if it is unsafe. It cannot be built, and so there will be a stop sign right here. And so when you're coming and going
A stop sign for whom?
for the new development.
So we don't have to stop on Slater Mill?
No. As far as, that's not proposed as far as I know.
I don't think that portion at the bottom is part of this development.
No, so
Yeah.
this portion right here, A long time ago, it was in one of our plans, but they did not acquire this parcel. So this parcel is not included at all. So there's not really anything that we can do about the wooded quality of this tract right here. It would just be, just this part is all that we're in control of. And this would be landscaped, but there has to be adequate site distance here for this to be built.
In the plan, Ken, you want to read that?
Just
It's
restating what
still-
she's,
it is not clear how that is not going to be a safety issue for our residents and for cars coming from Shawnee Trail along Slater Mill leading up to
Right.
that property entrance.
yeah, and out of our last meeting in June, we added that a traffic study, impact study will be done prior to anything.
That's also one of the conditions of zoning for this is that they have to, like, so that will be approved as a condition. If this project gets approved, that will be approved as a condition, and we have to do that before anything could get built.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I see what you're talking about. Was the entrance originally in front of the Haven, or was it?
No.
Oh, I don't know why I got confused.
We can look at the old
Yeah.
site
I thought
plans.
For some reason, it had
Yeah.
went down that far.
Yeah, so as you can see, when we had the 133 unit plan, we included that parcel that she was just referencing. And that's also in the 122 unit plan. But months later, when we had whittled it down, after months of communication to 115 and then now 95, that parcel is no longer included in this at all. I know because I had to change the legal description. So it's smaller, it's just this area, not this one. So again, like I said, we can't do anything about how wooded that is, unfortunately, but we can landscape this. We have to make sure that the site distance is adequate. We have to do that transportation study. So traffic study, so there's a lot of factors that, even if we were approved at this stage, to get the permits, we have to do all of these things. So there are those checks in place.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, I do understand her concern with that, and looking at it closer, it would seem that that portion would have already been achieved to determine whether or not there's enough sight distance after you come out of that tree line
Right.
to see that entrance, and then understand that you may have to slow down and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of room to play with there.
There's not. It
So-
could kill the project, and
Right.
that would happen, and we are well aware of that. We've had that discussion with the traffic engineer, and he told us that pretty much this is our option. That is the option. And if it doesn't work, and if they crunch the numbers and they map it out and they figure it out, it doesn't matter if it's rezoned for this or not, they cannot do it, point blank, so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anyone else who wants to speak other than in favor of this project? Please come forward.
Hello, my name is Ashley Teasley, and I reside at 8734 Danley Drive. And I live in the Slater Mill community that looks like it would be directly across from this proposed development. And I do have to echo your concerns, because just coming out of our entrance, it's a blind spot. You have people flying over the hill and coming the opposite way. It's just like, you're playing a game to get out of the neighborhood. And I'm also really concerned about all of the residential developments in that area. Not only do, you guys have this proposed, but they've also cleared out a lot behind some of our homes that have basements behind our Slater Mill community. That's off of Timber Ridge and Presley Mill. So it's just the influx of homes, people, without actually having, I'm thinking out loud here, better grocery stores in the area. We don't see developments of like Sprouts, Trader Joe's, Whole Foods, things of that nature. It's just more people. We're packing people in. And that's a big concern for me, and especially living across the street and see this development of 95 homes. And I think the development behind us is supposed to be 100+ townhomes and single-family homes. It's just a concern of traffic, and it's, you know, it's a big issue. And more people, I mean, you know, it's just so much. It's getting overwhelming. So just something to take in consideration. If it's a commercial property, fine, but residential is just too much. Thank you.
Thank you.
May I say something else?
How much time do we have left? Is there anyone else that speak? Huh? We have how much? 8 minutes. Well, if we have another,
Yes. Hi, I'm Chantel Burt Martin, the Vice President of the HOA of Slater Mill. Where the proposed project is right across from our community, as former resident just said, and that is going to have a traffic nightmare. We have had several meetings, last meeting as of Thursday, with the developer based on conditions, and some of those conditions have been met, but the biggest concern now is the traffic nightmare and the wildlife preservation with the deer population and also flooding. Because that street is curved and the topography of it now, with the heavy torrential rains that we've had, standing water has been collected. So we are really concerned with that, and also the blind spot coming over the hill. It is already a nightmare, and it would cause a terrible disservice to us and all the surrounding communities around it. Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else?
May I speak again?
Do we have time? Yes, ma'am. Oh, there it is, thank you. Yes,
Yes?
yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Cheryl Smith again. After listening to some of the others and digesting some of the details that we were talking about earlier, I guess, 1,800 square feet is not a lot in terms of a home and other homes that are being built, and that concerns me. And that obviously is the reason that you're having to squish the houses so close together to get the 95 houses in. Is there been any consideration to reduce the number of houses and enlarge the houses to a larger square footage? And that would be a much less impact on our streets, on our schools, on our neighborhood, if we had less houses and that the houses were larger and in a higher price range. I mean, we have enough apartments around Douglasville that go up every day. It'd be nice to have a development, a home development that had some semi-high-end homes in them, and this would be a great location for that. Thank you.
They reduced from 133 to 95. Is there anyone else? All right. Are there any further questions from the board? Any further discussion? Yes.
Oh, I'm just here to answer questions. And also, yeah, to your point, we did decrease from 133 homes to 95, so it has been quite a reduction in the number of homes. We also have found that this is just what the market commands for homes that are being built now, and the 1,800 was a minimum, so of course they can be bigger, and I think in the elevations that we have, I kind of skirted through them quickly because I know you've seen them before, but for other people who might not have been here on prior meetings, these are sort of the elevations that we're offering. So it's not that they're low quality by any means. You have quite a significant amount of brick, and I believe these would be bigger than 1,800 square feet, just looking at them as someone who is in the market for purchasing a home. And I have an engineer on hand who can speak more technically to the site distance conditions. I don't know how much time I have left.
Do we need to discuss
I have
No?
one question, and it may be for staff, I'm not sure. It's pertaining to the final elevations being submitted. We're waiting until land disturbance permits are given, and then we'll get the final elevations. So these are just
So we did submit,
conceptual, or?
we submitted a ton with our application, and I believe those are the elevations that we intend to build. They have to get final approval at the, by the director of planning at land disturbance. So they have to be signed off on.
right.
That answer, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is there any further discussion needed by the board? Do I have a motion regarding this application?
I'll make a motion to approve item 23-018.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed?
Okay. Did you get that? 3-1? All right. The motion passes and the application is recommended for approval. Thank you. The second case is item 23-220. Hold a public hearing and consider a request for a change in zoning from GC General Commercial District to LI Light Industrial District for plus or minus 13.43 acres at the intersection of Bright Star Road and Bright Star Connector in Land Lot 163, District 2, Section 5. Parcel ID 01630250023 and 01630250024. Application by Planners and Engineers Collaborative, Ken Wood. Staff will now present the item.
This next item is a request for rezoning. The site is currently zoned GC, General Commercial, and the applicant would like to rezone it to LI Light Industrial to develop a warehousing facility. This proposed rezoning includes 2 parcels at the intersection of Bright Star Road and Bright Star Connector, and they're across from one another. The applicant also requested a future land use amendment, which the council will review next month. This is a map that shows where it is. You can see there are 2 parcels across from each other at the intersection of Bright Star Road and Bright Star Connector. And here you can see the proposed site plan. The entrance to the passenger parking areas are both on Bright Star Connector, and then the entrance to the truck courts are both on Bright Star Road. The request is not in compliance with the future land use plan. As I mentioned, the applicant did request a future land use amendment. The Regional Activity Center does not allow industrial, but the applicant would like to change it to light industrial, the future land use. I should also mention that there have been a few other requests for rezonings that did not get future land use changes, but that's something that staff is hoping to incorporate for future developments that are in compliance with the future land use plan. There is a concern, there is on the southern parcel, it's immediately adjacent to a religious institution, and there might be some incompatibility between the two. So staff is recommending some buffer and fencing requirements. And they're also noted in the UDO that those are required. Another thing to note is that the southern parcel, the one immediately south of this one, is also in the county. So that concludes my report, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you all have them.
Right. The one that came before us a couple months ago, there was two of them on the other side of Bright Star. Did they change was the future land use changed for that one? Because I remember it was kind of like across the street and backed up to a family residence.
Nope, I don't believe that it was. That one, one of the parcels was in Douglasville, and the other one was in unincorporated county.
Unincorporated, which came into the city, because I
Yeah, it
remember
was annexed.
council passed it, right?
Yeah,
It also didn't have trucks.
yep, it was approved.
Yeah, I know it was approved, but I was just wondering if it had if it had the same kind of criteria as far as land use changing.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah, that was more like a warehouse for business. This is
Right.
a warehouse for trucks.
this is more of a warehouse for trucks.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Will the applicant come forward and state their name and address for the record? Tell us what you intend to do on this property.
Hello again. Haley Todd, Planners and Engineers Collaborative, 350 Research Court, Norcross. So again, Ken Wood wishes he could be here. He is on a very well-deserved vacation in Florida with his now 16-year-old son. So I'll kick us off, maybe. So as Marissa was mentioning, this is on the intersection of Bright Star Road and Bright Star Connector. You can see this is an aerial of the property. You can see that it's really close to the quarry. It's really close to I-20. We are also very, very close to several other projects that have recently been constructed. In fact, this to the north of us is so new that the Google aerial didn't have those warehouses. They were just constructed. You can see that to the west of us is the Bright Star, 2681 Bright Star, and then Bright Star South. Those two were the ones I believe you were just talking about. One is in the county, one is in the city. They also did not have future land use amendments. And then to the east of us is the Silverman site. It is pretty large. And that one was in the CAC future land use district. So you can see this is our current site zoning. It's the general commercial, it's the same, and these maps have not been updated since the other ones around us were also rezoned similarly. So this is general commercial, it's keeping in the same kind of character. This is the future land use map. You can see where we are in the regional activity center, which is the most intense of the future land uses, but it doesn't permit the warehousing uses. That was not required for whatever reason for the Bright Star South that you can see here. But the Silverman site, the large site to the east of us, was the CAC, the Community Activity Center, which permitted the light industrial use. So it's kind of a little mixed bag of land uses here. But we believe that based on the surrounding context, this is, very much within the character of the area. And Chad Lambeth from PEC is going to talk about the development a little bit more.
Okay. Hello, my name is Chad Lambeth with PEC. My address is 350 Research Court, Peachtree Corners, Georgia, 30092. So as Haley was talking more about the future land use and the map amendment, I was going to discuss the more of the site plan specifics. As Marissa mentioned, this is two separate parcels here, separated by Bright Star Connector. The northern parcel is a 7.55 acre parcel with a 113,400 square feet building. The southern parcel is 5.88 acres with a 78,400 square foot building. Kind of alluding to the same things Marissa mentioned, we do have two separate entrances that separate truck entrance versus employee and guest parking. Both truck entrances are along Bright Star Road there, and both employee and guest parking are along Bright Star Connector. Both of those are aligned with an existing median break there, and so I think we'll add a left turn lane going east on that entrance there. And kind of going into more detail about the site plan itself and what we're up against. The southern portion of the property has an existing plantation pipeline easement. It's a 50-foot easement along our southern property line there. And so we've got some constraints, obviously from north to south. We're a bit constrained there. Obviously the front setbacks along Bright Star Road, both of those are 50 feet for both of those parcels. We do have a Greystone power easement also going through that frontage along Bright Star Road on both parcels. One encroaches around 20 feet to the southern parcel, so constraining us a little bit more there. And then also just some right-of-way that had been taken previously for other development. So just wanted to give you a breakdown of the site plan and then just kind of talk through what the staff recommendations were next. This is just a colored plan kind of representing, you can see on the southern property line there, the existing vegetation between our proposed development and the existing religious center. And so also we have the existing gas easement there. So there's already a decent amount of buffer obviously between the building and our proposed building is hundreds of feet, but we do have a natural buffer and a pipeline there that give, roughly 50 to 60 feet between our parking lot. And so we feel like we do have a good natural buffer there. And then, so touching on the staff recommendations, yeah.
But the trucks are coming in on the south side, closer to the church than on the bottom.
That's right. The trucks come in on that entrance for the southern parcel, that's right. And then on the northern, obviously the northern side of Bright Star Road on that northwest corner. So I wanted to talk about the staff recommendations. We understand the divide there between Douglas County, the requirements for some sort of buffering between unincorporated Douglas County and any general commercial properties as well. What we're trying to see, what we're proposing in lieu of the 6-foot brick fence, we prefer to plant some mature, I think these are called emerald arborvitae. We would plant trees that are already well established, 6-foot trees that are basically the same height as that fence, provide a natural buffer. I don't think the plan is to fence the remainder of the property, so we feel like it would seem out of context a little bit, and it would be in space kind of on its own. And also the plants or the trees there would, obviously not have the long-term maintenance issue that a fence would. So we think that this is a viable solution where obviously there's the pipeline there that also is causing a problem as itself. But there is natural buffer, and we think this would be a good alternative for the fence in lieu of the fence.
Because I know they're Seventh-day Adventists.
Yeah,
Saturday. So their Sabbath is Saturday.
Mhm.
If you got 18-wheelers coming in and out on Saturdays, is there a way that could be flipped where the entrance is on the north side too, like on the north one, or is it not conducive?
I think we get more and more constrained on that southeast corner because it squeezes to the skinniest part of the site there. Like I mentioned, we're already very constrained. I mean, we're fitting this envelope pretty tightly in there, but.
So you already deal with tight constraint, but you've got room for 18-wheelers to go in there?
Well, yes, yeah, we have the adequate truck courts and drive aisles and everything and turn radiuses to get into the property. And so we're not concerned from that standpoint. We do have adequate parking area. And so that was the first recommendation. I think the other was about buffering between the general commercial. We're okay with establishing a planting plan that will work for everyone. And I think it was a part of a kind of a design that we'll handle in land disturbance permit. And then going on to our second, which I don't think it was mentioned, it might have been misplaced, but it has been a big topic for this development and is actually what set this project back the initial month, is we have the discussions going on with city DOT and county DOT about a future turn signal at Bright Star Connector at Bright Star. And so that wasn't mentioned in here, but it was on the staff recommendation. So I didn't want to not bring it up and discuss it. I'd rather you guys hear it and talk through it. But basically, what we're proposing, we've got all these other developments around us, and I'll go to the next slide just so you can kind of see the context of what's going on around us that's been previously zoned in the last 3 years. To our southeast here, we've got almost, I think it was 1.5 million square feet. To the east, or to the west, we've got some as well. So I think we're close to 2 million square feet of proposed industrial that's not built yet. And so the city brought the concern up that there will be a future need for a traffic light, although it's not needed today. And so what we've been asked to do by the city, and there's been a ton of discussion with, I believe it's Marcus and Bruce Mercer with the county. We had a long call with them and basically tried to establish what's a fair solution for everybody. Obviously, these properties have been zoned already, but we believe that there's a way to divide up the cost of the signal and basically implement that during the land disturbance permit process, and so that we will pay our portion of it in relation to what we're providing. So we think that obviously there's 2.5 million square feet of industrial going on. We're 191,000 square feet of that, and I think we're last in the door, so I think it's just now coming up. But we do believe it's fair that everyone spread the cost out. We don't think we should have to bear the cost of the full turn signal. So that cost is $250,000 is what Bruce and Marcus came up with, which is a conservative estimate. We think that if you take the square footage of each one of these buildings, you divide it up into a ratio of basically what your percentage of the area is, that's what you should be responsible for paying towards the signal. And just like a city initiative for any sort of sidewalk or trail system that's being improved, that's being pushed onto the developer during the land disturbance permit, we think that's the same way that this should be handled, so that everyone gets the same benefits from it, or the city gets the benefit and everyone has the same responsibility. So we brought that up just to make sure everyone was on the same page, because I think that was a staff recommendation for a condition. And these are just examples of the other industrial developments near us. It doesn't do it justice because the one on the top right is bigger than all of them combined. So this is the analysis that we came up with. There's an Excel file basically breaking down total project square footage and what each size. We're 8%. We're a fraction of the overall development in this area. So that's how we calculated it. So that's all. I was going to leave a few minutes for Wes with Dermody to come up here and just introduce himself. They're a very experienced group in Atlanta area, so they're very excited to be here in Douglasville. So we hope you guys will approve us, and we'll be ready for questions in a moment.
You say we have 8 minutes remaining? Okay. All right. Hey, guys. Good evening. My name's Wes Hardy. I'm the partner responsible for running Dermody properties in the southeastern United States. Dermody I'm from Atlanta. I grew up in Powder Springs, not too far from here. So very familiar with this part of the state, and I've always tried to do business in this part of the state when I can. But Dermody Properties is a 62-year-old national real estate investor focused exclusively on the development and acquisition of logistics-based real estate. So Dermody our namesake is originally a guy named John Dermody. Now his son Michael still runs the firm and is still active on a day-to-day basis. Michael lives in Reno, Nevada, so a long ways from Douglasville. But he's in Reno, Nevada. Our CEO, Doug Kiersey, is in Chicago, Illinois. And we do have a local office here in Atlanta that I'm responsible for. Our team that runs the Atlanta group, you should know, we came off, or I had a 20-year run at a firm called Duke Realty. And Duke Realty was purchased last year. So we brought one of my team members, David Sprinkles, here with me. So a team of 5 of us joined Dermody Properties last fall. And this will be our first development. So this team of folks that we brought over, we had developed something like 7 million square feet around the southeast, ran a portfolio of 28 million square feet, and we're kind of starting over. So it's exciting, and it's a lot of work at the same time. And we bought a building in Savannah about 4 weeks ago. as an existing building, but this project here would be our first development. It's one that we want to make sure that we do well and that we do right for the community. These are very much light industrial buildings. There are not even any trailer spaces here. I think you hear, the term light industrial gets thrown around a lot. I think this really personifies what that is. You know, there's a lot of good buildings I think are going to be built in this area in the next, 3 to 5 years, but these will be unique given their size. I think there's a lot of older stock in Douglasville and in Douglas County of this size, but there's not a lot of modern buildings of this size, and I think it will really support the existing local economy. And I'm trying to think, it is a couple other notes. It is cohesive, to the neighborhood. We wanted to, we're just trying to, these are two little buildings that we're just trying to slide in here. And we, like I say, we think it'll fit well with the neighborhood, fit well with the local economy. And Chad did talk through the two conditions. I can tell you I've never built a brick fence in all these buildings over all the years that we've built. It's just sort of incompatible from an aesthetic perspective. Not really something you would see in one of these buildings. And I do think it would be very helpful, I think, for everybody on a long-term perspective to accomplish screening on a natural basis using natural material versus something that's just going to be a maintenance problem and not really aesthetically fit. And he also addressed the issue of the traffic signal. So with all that, that's all I've got, and we're happy to answer any questions. And we're excited to be in Douglasville. This is a part of Atlanta that we have focused on. We have another site that we're working on. It's outside of the city limits, even further west of here. And this is just an area of metropolitan Atlanta that we want to invest our dollars in.
Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
I have a quick question.
Are there-
That's okay.
I was just getting ready to ask, are there
Yeah.
any questions from the board?
Yeah, quick question. What, you guys have a lot of experience. What, these two properties here, what kind of, tenants or whatever primarily occupy these guys?
Yeah, I think these are local service-oriented type companies. I don't view these as big. They're in our lingo, they're not bulky, so you're not going to see somebody storing big, heavy stuff. I don't think you're going to see a very distribution-heavy user. If you did, we would have a bunch of trailer parking spaces there, where inventory can be stored outside of the building as it's being turned inside the building. So these, I think, we've already sent out a proposal. I can't say who it is, but somebody that's in the neighborhood, a supply company type thing. And I could, that's sort of my perspective. Not big, not third-party logistics companies. Maybe you get some national name that we've all heard of that just needs a small facility to serve West Georgia. But I'm thinking service-oriented, local economy-based.
So you're not thinking tons of trucks in and out all the time?
I think, like I said, and I've built buildings that are $1.4 million, and those are monsters. We've built everything in between. I think these are the opposite. These are low truck traffic. Again, you could, if you were in my shoes, you could look at this and say, be critical of the fact that I don't have any trailer parking on this thing. But I think that's, play into your question, I think that's just who we're going to appeal to, are low truck type users.
Thank you.
How many dock doors on each?
I don't know, Dave, do we have a dock door count? I mean, I know we do, I just don't know what it is.
I guess about somewhere between 25 and 30.
Per building? Sounds about right. Even if you look at the bottom building, the southern building doesn't have, the truck court doesn't extend all the way to the end of the building. So that sort of drives me crazy, but, there's just not enough space for it. So in your world, though, what that does is it limits trucks.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the project, ask questions, or make other comments? Please come forward, tell us your name and address. Is there anyone who would like to speak other than in favor of this project? Please come forward and tell us your name and address.
Hello, I am Barney Young Jr., 7049 Rose Lake Circle, Douglasville, 30134. So good evening, esteemed members of the Planning Commission. I stand before you today as a concerned resident, echoing the worries of many others in our community. The proposed zoning change from general commercial district to light industrial district along the Bright Star Connector is a deep concern to us all. We were initially sold a vision of a future commercial corridor, a space where local shops, eateries, and amenities would thrive and enhance our community's vibrancy. Instead, we are confronted with the future dominated by warehouses, a deviation from the original vision and promises that were made to us when the Bright Star Connector was created. Our most pressing concern is the projected surge in heavy truck traffic due to these warehouses. With over 3.8 million square feet of warehouse service planned in the corridor, and I just learned about another 500,000, so that's over 4 million square feet of warehouse space planned, we're looking at around 3,863 daily truck trips. If we consider peak periods, assuming these trucks operate mainly during business hours from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., that translates to 322 truck trips per hour, or more than 5 every minute. Imagine a truck passing through every 15 seconds. That's what we're going to be confronted with in the next 3 years. This increase will heavily impact our roadways, particularly Bright Star Road, which serves as the primary artery for our school buses transporting children to and for Bright Star Elementary, the elementary school my kids are zoned to go to. The potential for heightened congestion, faster road wear, and heightened safety risk to our young students are alarming. Furthermore, the short stretches on Highway 5 that lead to the I-20 ramps will see an added influx of heavy traffic. These modest 0.3 and 0.4 mile stretches to the west and east I-20 ramps respectively could become severe choke points, significantly impeding daily commutes and straining our already burdened infrastructure. Now let's address the elephant in the room, the quality of our lives. An increase in noise and air pollution from these trucks and warehouse tenants will undoubtedly degrade our living conditions and local ecosystems. Our homes, which should be sanctuaries, can instead become front row seats to a never-ending stream of noisy, polluting trucks. Lastly, the request for future land use, we'll talk about that later. I implore the Commission to reconsider this zoning change. We must strike a balance between economic advancement and preserving the quality of life we value so deeply in our community. Let's make decisions that respect our original vision, that take into account the potential economic benefits, but also the impacts on our traffic, the environment, our local school, and most importantly, our overall quality of life. Thank you for your time and your unwavering commitment to the best interests of our community. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else who would like to speak other than in favor of this project? All right. Is there any need for further discussion on this matter? Do I have a motion regarding this application? Anyone?
I make a motion to deny approval for this application.
All right. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. All opposed?
Nay.
The motion was to deny the application. So all in favor of that? And then we had one opposed. The motion passes and the application is recommended denial and will be heard at the city council meetings on August 3rd and August 7th, sorry. All right. Thank you. The third case is item 23-161, hold a public hearing and consider request for land use permit for an event center for property zoned NC Neighborhood Commercial District, being plus or minus .55 acres at 8709 Hospital Drive and land lot 50, District 1, Section 5, parcel ID 005-001-50105. Application by Kimberlite Event Space, Kimberly Melson. Staff will now present the item.
So our next case is a request for a special land use permit for an event center. It is a renewal of a request that was previously issued previously approved by the council. It expired in April. And the current zoning is neighborhood commercial. The future land use is community activity center. Here is an image of where it's located on Hospital Drive. It's an existing building. It doesn't include any new construction. The original request was approved by council in December of 2019, and then it was renewed in December of 2020. It expired in April of 2023. Staff identified that the proposed use did not meet the required parking per the UDO. The applicant has partnered with the city engineer to create a shared parking plan and an alternative parking plan, which was approved. Staff finds that it meets the requirements of the UDO at this time, and we will recommend approval of the request.
Thank you. Will the applicant come forward, state their name and address for the record, tell us what you intend to do on this property?
Hello, my name is Kimberly Melson, 8709 Hospital Drive, 30134. I'm sorry. And, okay, so it's an event space, and this is my 4th year in business. Everything has been going well until I was faced with an issue with the parking. Actually, parking has not been an issue for my event space because I've actually lowered my guest count due to COVID in 2019. So my guest count runs about 60 to maybe 80 people maximum, but we have very small, intimate weddings and special events, more mature events. We don't do teenage events often, unless it's maybe family-oriented. But for the most part, we utilize the parking in the front of the space and in the back of the space. And we have an additional parking lot to the right of us as well. So I've never had any issues with parking because typically with a guest count of about 60 to 80 people, maybe 40 cars or less will need assistance with parking. I do have a parking attendant that's also security, and he makes sure the parking goes well at each event. So other than that, I don't have any issues with parking, and I'm just hoping I get renewed again because I have a lot of weddings to plan.
Do you know how many parking spaces you have there? Because I know I've gone by there before, and I've noticed that when you have an event, that's why I was wondering how many.
I actually took the time to count. It's quite difficult counting parking spaces, but I know it's about 53 on my left, and with my spaces in the front of my building and in the back, it's about, and on the side, it could be about 30.
I'm actually your neighbor, and so I go by there all the time.
Oh, you're my neighbor on the
Yeah,
left or
I mean,
right?
around the corner, around the way, but not.
Oh,
right there. So
okay.
I go to Kroger, you know, at least once a day. So I'm driving past you all the time. So,
Okay.
you know, most of the time when you're having your stuff, though, it's after hours. And
Yes.
so all the folks that are on your right are not around. So I'm
Yes.
assuming you have a deal worked out with them where you can use their parking lots after
Yes,
hours
they
and
don't
stuff.
mind me using their parking. We have a really good relationship. But a lot of times, the events are normally on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. And although Douglasville gave me a curfew, I actually, I'm a very strict event space, actually, because I want to continue to have a conservative event space. So my actual curfew for myself is about 11 o'clock. We try to have everything shut down and everyone out of the space by 11 p.m. because we want to go home and go to sleep, and we have to clean the space and get ready for the next event. So
You can tell them you're right across the street from the courthouse. If there's any
Yes.
shenanigans, it's a short drive.
yes.
Are there any questions from the board? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of the project, ask questions, or make other comments? Please come forward, tell us your name and your address. Is there anyone who would like to speak other than in favor of this project? Please come forward and tell us your name and address. If there's no need for further discussion, do I have a motion regarding this application?
I'll make a motion, we approve the item.
I second.
All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes and the application is recommended approval and will be heard at the city council meetings on August 3rd and August 7th. Thank you. The fourth case is item 23-245. Hold a public hearing and consider request to adopt a proposed ordinance to amend section 2.05S of the Unified Code of Ordinance for mini warehouses. Application by Community Development Department, Shayla Reed.
Greetings and good evening, Planning Commissioners. I'm Shayla Reed. I'm your Community Development Director, and thank you for this opportunity. Just to give you a little history on why we're here tonight on this item, Council has found the need to give a little bit of attention over to your mini warehouses / storage facilities. We are wanting to just spend a little bit more time ensuring that they're having an aesthetic look, as well as managing how they are located when it comes to the city. So there's about 12 different bullets that you'll see in my packet that is giving you an idea of what council's looking to have. And so first, of course, when it comes to this use, there are some administrative, permitted uses that give them right out the ability to go ahead with the business license. So staff has proposed to council to remove that permitted use to allow for them to all be special land uses. So that's the first thing. And then second, anything dealing with outside storage, ensuring that it has regulations regarding that, and that there's no loading bays facing streets, so that there is no need to have that clutter seen from the street if there is any loading of the bays. The mini warehouses, as mentioned, when it comes to locations, we're ensuring that that there's a distance between these uses, and so staff is proposing to council to locate or put a restriction to not have a use within 1/8 the aggregate boundary of another use. There's a buffer requirement that we're looking to ensure that we increase for adjacent residential structures, There's a fencing requirement that we're trying to also ensure that at least at a minimum for 6 feet and at 8 feet for height. Landscaping requirement for there to be landscaping required for the frontage of these structures. And then design standards that are already existing, but just kind of spelled out a little bit more inside of the code. Ensuring there's a separation distance between the storage buildings so that it doesn't look cluttered. And then also, if there's going to be a structure that's taller than 1 story, it has to be have an AC, internal control unit. And then the parking, that was a concern that was had. Our current parking is a little bit more restrictive for storage units than we would like to see. So we're asking to have the one parking space for 200 square feet of sales/office space. But then also in addition to that, one parking space per 20 units. And then lastly, of course, identify a self-storage because we did not have the actual definition inside the code. So inside your packet, you'll see what the code was and what the code is being changed over to. I don't know if I have the red line to it, but either still, those changes are in fact in the attachment that you have. Thank you, and that concludes my report, Chairman.
All right. Are there any questions from the board?
I just had one question. The additional parking space per 20 units, is that like out in front of it in the parking area, or are you talking about inside the gated area where the storage facilities are, or do they get to play with that?
They get to juggle that. We don't necessarily say where those spaces would be. It's to allow for there to be an opportunity to load those bays. So it could be out at the location itself, or it could be in the front gated area. It just depends on how they would like to do it. We require, I believe, 40, if I'm not mistaken, 40 spaces now, which is not necessarily needed. Right, so it's a waste of impervious surface, in my opinion. So we are looking to reduce that to allow for it to be less needed parking for something that doesn't have a permanent parking need.
And that parking is temporary, that's not, I can put a boat here for a while, or, so that's a separate, I think I saw that. As a
So the
separate
Bay
item.
Area, there's some language listed there for the Bay Area. So the Bay Area must be enclosed. So it does have a requirement so that it is, let's see, what bullet is that? It's going to be your third bullet. Oh, it says that it has to be, well, it doesn't have enclosure. Right, there it is. Right, requiring bay for recreation space, not in the parking lot. So that's basically saying that the actual bays for storage of large facilities can't be in parking lot. It has to be an enclosed space.
Restricted access, what are you trying to get into? Everybody's agenda went to restricted access.
Oh, no.
That's okay.
I think they were gonna give us a pay raise.
This will apply to any new.
That's correct. That would apply to new. So anything that we have already on our desk now that we've received application for, new rezonings or anything, business license, so be it, we're not requiring those things. This is just for new applications moving forward after the adoption date.
All right. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this item, ask questions, or make other comments? Please come forward and tell us your name and address. Is there anyone who'd like to speak other than in favor of this item? Please come forward and tell us your name and address. Is there any need for any further discussion? Do I have a motion regarding this application?
I'll motion to approve.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion passes and the application is recommended for approval, and that will be at the City Council's meeting on August 3rd and August 7th. The next item on our agenda is staff reports.
Hello, everyone. I hope you all enjoyed your 4th of July holiday. We have one report for you. We sent you an email. The Planning Commission training is confirmed for August 4th at 9 a.m. at Hunter Memorial Park, so looking forward to seeing you all there. And also, I learned that you all have iPads, and we normally print out the binders and give all the staff reports, but I would like to propose that moving forward, we print out site plans so that you have them to scale and they're easier to read during the meeting, and then you guys can review the staff reports on your iPad. But I wanted to offer that to you all and get formal feedback to double check that you all are okay with us moving forward in that direction.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good. Excuse me? It's August 4th, Hunter Memorial Park. That's the one on Gurley Road.
Hunter Park. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the one where you go down. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, that's everything from me. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any further, staff? Yes.
May I add something to that when it comes to the actual training? I just want to add that the training component for this particular board has been something that leadership has asked that we ensure that you have. And so please just try to make an effort to be there. I just want to kind of remind you all that we did have a training before and we had low numbers. So this is our second try, you know, to have an opportunity for our amazing board to continue to be trained and do great. So I just want to just add that in, okay?
You're speaking to the men.
Okay.
I motion to approve, oh.
Yeah. Second, yeah.
All right, if there are no further items, I make a motion to adjourn.